If you've been researching cookie consent tools, you've probably landed on these two at some point. Cookiebot and CookieYes are two of the most searched names in the space, and on the surface, they look pretty similar. Both give you a consent banner, both promise to help you achieve privacy compliance, both have a free option to start with. So the obvious question is, which one do you actually choose? And does it actually matter which way you go? Now, I've gone through both platforms in detail, looked at what each one offers and each pricing tier, and pulled apart where the real differences are. And some of them are more significant than the pricing page makes them seem. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear picture of which one fits your situation and which one is quietly costing people more than it should. Let's get into it. Before comparing them head to head, it helps to understand what a cookie consent management platform actually does. Because people tend to underestimate how much is involved in getting this right. And that gap in understanding is exactly how you end up picking the wrong tool. When someone visits your website, there can be dozens of cookies and tracking technologies firing in the background. Analytics tools, advertising pixels, embedded videos, login systems, third-party scripts you installed months ago and probably forgot about, under GDPR CCPA, and a growing list of other regulations around the world. Most of those technologies can't legally run until the user actively gives consent. A consent management platform is the tool that sits in front of all of that, presents the user with a banner, captures their choice, and makes sure that nothing fires until it's supposed to. The important word there is makes sure. A lot of tools gives you the banner. Fewer tools actually enforce what happens after the user clicks. The difference between a platform that displays a consent notice and one that actively blocks every cookie and tracker until consent is granted is the difference between looking compliant and being compliant. So when it comes to features and pricing, this is exactly where Cookiebot and CookieYes start to diverge. Both platforms handle the basics. Both will give you a banner, capture consent, and give you something to point to if someone asks about your data practices. Where they split is in the depth of the scanning, the completeness of the compliance features at each price point, and what you actually have to pay to get the full picture. Let's go through each of those. One of the first things that sets these two apart is how they actually scan your website for cookies and trackers, and how much of that scanning happens automatically versus manually. Cookiebot uses patented scanning technology backed by a catalog of over 13,000 cookies and trackers. It doesn't just look at the surface level, it goes deep, including cookies that fire from behind login systems, HTTP, and JavaScript cookies, HTML5 local storage, pixel tags, web beacons, iframes, embedded videos, and pop-ups. It scans all subpages and dynamic pages, not just your homepage. And when new trackers appear on your site, whether you added them intentionally or they came in through a plugin update, it picks them up automatically and updates your cookie declaration to reflect what's actually running. That last part is worth pausing on. Around 30% of cookie trackers on the average website change every month. This is why automated scanning matters. Whichever tool you use, if your scanning isn't keeping pace with those changes automatically, your compliance can silently slip without you realizing it. Cookiebot scanner runs continuously in the background, keeps everything current, and you don't have to manually trigger anything to stay covered. With CookieYes, the scanning works, but the technology is more generic, and the tracker repository is considerably more limited. You can run scans on your site, but the depth and automation you get with Cookiebot are not part of the main plan. Getting automated scanning on CookieYes requires upgrading to a higher tier that costs $25 or $55 per month, depending on the scanning frequency. Scanning behind login pages is the same story, not a default feature, and only available in the most expensive plan. For a lot of websites, especially those with members-only content, e-commerce checkouts, or gated tools, that's a real gap in what the base product actually covers. Quick note, pricing details here are based on publicly available information at time of filming. Always check the latest plans directly on each platform's site. The scanning difference also connects directly to something that matters for your brand, and that's the banner itself. This aspect comes up more than people expect, especially for anyone managing multiple websites or working in an agency setting where each client has their own brand standards. Your cookie consent banner is the first interactive element most visitors encounter on your site. They see it before they read anything. A banner that looks generic, visually out of place, or clearly stamped with a third-party tool's aesthetic doesn't just undermine your brand, it can affect opt-in rate. And if your analytics or advertising depend on consent being granted, that has real downstream consequences on your data quality. Cookiebot gives you full control over the banner's appearance, logo, colors, copy, styling, layout, and pop-up format. The banner becomes a natural part of your site design rather than just something that's obviously been imported from an external tool. That level of customization is included as standard. No upgrade required. With CookieYes, the customization capability is there, but it sits behind an upgrade. Getting your own logo and branding on the consent banner requires a $55 per month subscription. Pop-up layout options carry extra costs too. If you're managing consent banners across multiple client sites and each one needs to match a different brand identity, the economics of that add-on get uncomfortable fast. Now, both tools cover the main compliance frameworks GDPR, CCPA, CPRA, LGPD, and a number of others. But there are specific areas where Cookiebot's coverage goes further, and they're worth knowing about. Cookiebot is Google certified for Consent Mode V2. This matters significantly if you're running Google Analytics or Google Ads, because Consent Mode V2 is how Google models conversions and behavioral data when full consent hasn't been given. Without proper consent mode integration, your measurement becomes unreliable. You're making business decisions from incomplete data without realizing it. Cookiebot handles this natively, out of the box. Microsoft UET consent mode is also supported for anyone running Bing ads. Microsoft UET consent mode is also supported for anyone running Bing ads campaigns. The consent logs in Cookiebot are audit ready for both GDPR and CCPA, meaning if a regulator ever reviews your data practices, you have clean and complete documentation ready to produce. CookieYes provides basic logging, but the depth and structure of that documentation lags behind at an equivalent price tier. For businesses where auditability matters, professional services, healthcare adjacent industries, anyone dealing with sensitive user data, that gap is not a minor one. Usercentrics, the company behind Cookiebot, holds SOC and HIPAA certifications. And Cookiebot is recognized under IAB Europe's Transparency and Consent Framework. It won the G2 Best Software Award in 2026 and is rated highly across independent review platforms. For a tool that's woven into your legal compliance infrastructure, that level of third-party validation carries real weight. On the setup side, neither tool is difficult to get running, and that's worth saying clearly. Both have a straightforward path. You create an account, configure your banner, copy a code snippet, paste it into your site header, and you're live. If you're comfortable with basic website editing or working through Google Tag Manager, setup takes minutes on either platform. Cookiebot's GTM integration is something users consistently call out as clean and reliable. Once it's live, the day-to-day experience is largely hands-off. The scanner keeps running, the compliance stays current, and the platform updates automatically as your site's cookie landscape evolves. CookieYes has a clean onboarding experience and an intuitive interface. Getting started is genuinely easy. Place where it becomes more manual is if you want to keep your cookie declaration current without the automated scanning upgrade. Without that, it's a process you manage yourself, rather than one that just runs in the background. Which brings us to pricing. And yes, it is time to do the math. Cookiebot starts at $8 USD per month on its premium plan. CookieYes starts at $10 per month. On the surface, that looks like a minor difference in the other direction. The real picture changes entirely when you look at what's actually included at those prices. With Cookiebot, the core compliance features come with the base price. Your logo, branding on the consent banner included. Geo-specific compliance, where the tool automatically shows the right consent experience based on the visitor's location, whether they're in the EU under GDPR rules or in California under CCPA, included. Automated scanning, included. Multi-domain setup with cross-domain consent sharing, included. Audit-ready consent logs for both GDPR and CCPA, included. You're not piecing together a compliance setup from a base plan, plus a shopping list of add-ons. Most of what you need is there from the start. With CookieYes, several of those same features are locked behind the higher pricing tiers. Custom branding, geo-specific compliance, and automated scanning are not available on the base plan. To get all of them together, you need to upgrade to their ultimate plan at $55 per month. So while CookieYes advertises a starting price of $10 per month, a business with more complex requirements will likely need the $55 plan to get feature parity with what Cookiebot includes from $8 per month. But pricing complexity doesn't stop there. CookieYes charges per domain. So if you're managing multiple websites, you pay that monthly fee separately for each one. A business running 4 websites pays 4 times the price. On top of that, the basic and pro plans have monthly page view caps. And if your traffic spikes beyond your limit, you're charged $0.3 for every additional 1,000 page views. So what looks like a predictable monthly cost can quietly climb during your busiest months. Cookiebot, by contrast, charges based on the number of domains and subpages on each site, a fixed, predictable number that doesn't change based on how much traffic you get. No overage charges, no surprises at the end of the month. So when you put all of that together, here's where it lands. If you're running a small personal site or hobby project and your main goal is having a functional consent banner in place at minimal cost, CookieYes' base plan gets the job done. It's a workable tool at a low entry price for simple use cases. For most other situations, like small businesses, growing websites, agencies managing multiple client domains, anyone running Google Ads, or depending on analytics to make decisions, well, Cookiebot is the clearer answer. The scanning is more thorough, the compliance features are more complete out of the box, branding and geo-targeting aren't extras you have to unlock, and the pricing stays predictable as you scale. When you add the upgrades CookieYes requires to match what Cookiebot includes by default, the cost gap flips in Cookiebot's favor. The link in the description gets you started with a 14-day free trial, and there's currently 20% off the first 3 months after the trial ends. There's also a permanently free plan with sites with up to 50 subpages if you'd rather see how it works on your specific site before committing to anything. Drop any questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to help you figure out which plan makes sense for your setup. If this was helpful, a like helps other people find the video. See you in the next one.